Hey everyone, good morning. It's Adam here. It's Saturday the 26th of February, and Rosie's coming back together, so that's a nice improvement. Um,
Here's your reminder.
a reminder that Rosie's coming back together. All right, we're entering that part of the year where things are really slowing down, and I've got a couple of choices. One of those is to not make as many videos, of course. Alternatively, do a couple of ad hoc videos. And to be totally honest, these don't make any money for me. These are just fun. I know some people. I don't really feel like there's some um, pent up, you know, burning questions that people have. But I thought, when I do go to rallies and stuff and talk to motorcyclists that watch these videos, they do have some questions. I'm going to load this a little bit here. A little more of my man boobs. Okay. So, quick update on this, obviously. There's no wheels on it right now. Woody's Wheel Works has had my wheels for a week. They said they're going to give them out to me next week. So that means roughly a 3-week turnaround 4 weeks from me shipping them to them and them shipping them back to me. Which is quite a while, but again, it's the off season, no big deal. I also had the headers back from Jet Hot for the second time, and I'm still not happy with it, but they're working on it. It'll be its own thing. And then the powder coating work is done. Well, actually, the bead blasting work is done. So once the wheels are back on, I can put the headers on, and then I can finally install all the alt-rider, crash bar, skid plate, all that fun stuff. So the bike is coming together. Okay, so back to the topic. This was going to be kind of like a series of videos where I just talk to the camera, minimal editing because I've got a lot going on right now, and I thought I would answer some burning questions that people have brought up to me in the past. So, this one is going to be how I make money. That's something that people, seem to ask individuals that are on YouTube and, showing off or whatever with, all this money going out the door. So that's something that people are curious about. So I don't mind entertaining that just because I'm young. I'm 32 and I own multiple European bikes and own a house and I'm very happy and very comfortable. Maxing out my savings, those kind of things. I have no significant debt. So, those kind of things people are curious about. I'll try to think of a few other topics. I'll go through some of my questions, but I've got a few different inquiries that I'll talk about, and it'll probably just be shot all today, and I'll post it over the next few weeks. So, okay. This, I'd say go forward 5 minutes if you don't want the whole backstory, but I'll go through this, in a slower way. So, born in Florida. I was born in Gainesville, Florida. We lived in Lake City, Live Oak, Brantford, Mayo area, Ocala for a few years. And then in first grade, we moved to Palm Coast / St. Augustine, Florida. And I went through there for 3 years. And then we moved to Alabama for 5 years. My dad, my biological father, I saw him as required by the court, but I never really, we didn't have a good relationship. He's a great guy, just we didn't really connect. So, at 1 year old, I met my stepdad, and he became my, in all intents and purposes, father. I even changed my last name to his name. And I guess this is going to be more of a life story video. So, his grandmother and grandfather were really ill in Alabama. He's from Birmingham, so we moved there for 5 years. Once his grandparents passed away, we moved back to St. Augustine, Florida. And at that point, I was in 7th or 8th grade. And we finally kind of settled down. My parents were never homeowners until I moved away. We always rented. So every year, like clockwork, we would move to a new rental. And that usually meant a new school district. So I think I went to 8 different schools between kindergarten and graduating. 8 or 9 different schools. It was a lot. And, that does give you sort of a psychological, ability to sort of be flexible, comfortable. I've moved across country twice, and each time I've sold everything I own and just move. I don't foresee that happening again now that I'm a little more established in my hobbies, but I was able to do it a few times, so I'm just used to it. I'm used to this stuff all kind of just being stuff, and you can sell it and liquidate and move. In St. Augustine, this was in 2000, so I was born in 86 and 87. I met my father. In 2001, he divorced my mom and got joint custody of my sisters. Of course, my custody was with my mom because my stepdad was my biological father or didn't adopt me. But I still chose to live with him and see my mom regularly, which she didn't like very much, but that's how it is. So I didn't live with my dad until I graduated from high school, and then I moved out on my own and in with my first girlfriend. So, Florida was great. Similar to Alabama, it's the people that kind of make Florida and Alabama kind of shitty. As a state, as a place, climate-wise, I have no issues with Florida and Alabama. I like both states. Just, my dad is a martial arts instructor, and when we were in Leeds, Alabama, I'm sure there's some newspaper clippings for this, but when we were in Leeds, Alabama, all the local churches tried together and tried to drive us out of town for being satanic worshipers because we were doing Aikido and we would bow in each day to some old Japanese guy on the wall, and because you weren't bowing to Jesus Christ, you were a satanic worshiper. Like shit like that. It's just, Alabama really is a cesspool. And I'm sorry, I mean, there are good people there, but it's just, if you're not a diehard Christian and hate the gays and hate the blacks, then you shouldn't be it's just, it's unfortunate, and I'll probably get shit for that comment, but I really don't want to go out to Alabama for any purpose other than hiking. It's really, really, really cool there. I like the riding there, the scenery there, the mountains. It's just nice. So, I was a terrible student. I graduated high school with a 2.4 GPA. Barely graduated, including I only took 3 years of math and 3 years of English. I failed so badly in algebra that I ended up taking liberal arts math as my last year in liberal arts English, which is like makeup credits basically. Like, here's basic math again. I failed PE. I also failed out of Spanish. Spanish 2. I did okay on Spanish 1. I also almost failed biology. My priorities in high school were computers and nothing else. I didn't want to do anything else but computers. I wanted to play around with them. I remember our county school district had, they were actually sharing data using microwave antennas. So they had a microwave antenna centrally in the school district, and it would have omnidirectional repeaters for all the schools, and they all had their own microwave tower. And this is how they transfer data before T1s, OC3s, fiber connections existed. So I remember once when I got into file sharing, I set up a personal file server called, I can't remember what it was called, but anyway, had a file server set up, and I remember I took down the whole district's internet at one point because I posted it to some 4chan style message board, here's a bunch of MP3s on my iBook that I bought. I saved up an iBook, and when I was 16 or 17 from doing side jobs. And that's the only time I ever got detention, was bringing down the school's network. But on the flip side of that, I was always the kid that they would call to fix printers and stuff. So I was a necessary evil in school. Are we recording? 1 second. Yes. Okay. So in my last year of high school, I took graphic design. Really enjoyed that a lot. As I got older, I remember I started tinkering with PCs at a really young age. I always sort of gravitated to and met people through Mac user groups and stuff. Even as a little kid, my mom was really good about encouraging that. My dad is being a personal trainer, gym owner, martial arts instructor, a lot of military stuff. He didn't really understand it, and that's okay. Part of me looks back and wonders if I picked computers because they were the inverse of him, or if I just gravitated for them naturally. I have no idea. I'll never really know. I don't have a psychiatrist. So anyway, I always had hand-me-down PCs from various friends, Linux machines, various x86 boxes, always hacked away at stuff, took things apart. I really enjoyed that. And in 99, I started my first blog on LiveJournal, and then, which was kind of the emo kid way of blogging back in the day. And eventually I got a web domain and started using P Machine, started writing about computers. And my old posts weren't very good, but for some reason I was so passionate about it. I got a lot of sponsorships. I remember when I was 14, I went to San Francisco by myself for Macworld Expo, met Steve Jobs, got really ingrained in it. And that was my start of my career, basically. I did side work for people that mom knew in downtown St. Augustine because she was a post office clerk. So I would go to people's houses or businesses and fix computer problems. Most of them didn't want to pay me because I was a kid, but you learn, that's lesson learned. And then between 14 years old and 17, lots of travel. I went to a lot of different conferences, CES, Macworld, various bar camps, blog camps, those kind of camps, weekend things, startup weekends. And then I really fell in love with San Francisco, and I kind of wanted to make it a goal to move out there because I felt like that was where that's where technology gets built. So it was in I was so passionate about blogging that I took a job where I could blog early in the morning when breaking news starts to happen. So not in mid-afternoon when San Francisco comes online. So I started driving a flatbed truck at age 18. I had various jobs like Arby's and Firehouse Subs and various those kind of jobs. But at 18, I got a job at a lumber yard delivering Anderson windows and doors and just local stuff, not regional. Because I could start at 4 a.m. and be done around noon and blog the rest of the afternoon at Starbucks. And I remember one day I was in Palaco, Florida, and I was in my truck driving along, and I got a phone call from a San Jose number. And I hadn't, the iPhone wasn't out yet, so I was probably using my Motorola Razr. And it was a recruiter from Apple. And they said, and this is the start of my legitimate career. They said, we have 3 people in the company who referred you for a management position. We'd like to have you come in and interview for this, and just to make sure you're qualified. I was like, wow, okay. So I talked to them, and then in Jacksonville they were opening a store, it was 111 or 112, which was the St. John's retail store, and interviewed, got the job. I was an assistant manager making $14 an hour, but I was 18. I had no retail experience. The key about Apple stores is everyone that works that's really good generally was in retail before, not computers. So they usually, at the time, they were recruiting from Circuit City and CompUSA and Best Buy for genius roles, and then they were recruiting from Gap and Old Navy, Banana Republic, and Liz. Is it Liz Taylor? No, I don't know. Those stores for management positions, they were kind of doing that. And I didn't know that, but I just happened to be referred enough. So I was underqualified for the job, but it was great. I went to management training. We did 5 weeks of training, technical stuff, became an Apple computer product specialist, tech support stuff. Did it for 9 months, totally fell out of the job. I wasn't qualified. No one in the place respected me. I was a great salesman, but I was not a good people manager. Everyone that worked there was 10 years older than me, and they just didn't respect me. So I fell out of that miserably. And then I went into IT, working for a managed services company in St. Augustine. But I don't underestimate the value that Apple gave me, both in my resume, but also just in my experience with the corporate world. It was really, really eye-opening, and convinced me I don't want to work for Apple ever again. So worked at this managed services company for 3.5 years. After that, so I was around 19 years old to 20, so 2.5 years, and ended up working up to being the remote service manager. So I would try to fix problems remotely, and if I couldn't fix them, I'd send someone out. I'd roll a truck, because rolling a truck costs you more money in travel time, because the guy's not making money when he's in transit to a place. So it was my job to save the company money in solving things before remotely, basically. So that was my job for a couple of years. Really good at it, I think. At the same time, I was getting my MCSA, various tech certifications, did a bunch of that stuff, kept up with the Apple stuff, and then also continuing to go to Macworld every year and various conferences. Blogging was still my thing. Photography was growing for me, and I was living with my girlfriend Laura, in a small 2-bedroom place in Florida. Really, really great time. I think at the time I was making, remember I'm 18 here. I'm making $45,000 a year or something, which at 18 in 2006. No complaints. That was really, really good salary. I got involved with a couple of startups remotely. So it was like April of 2007. Yeah. I told my girlfriend I wanted to move to San Francisco. She said, let's do it. Next week I flew out there, scouted apartments, and then 2 weeks after that, so 3 weeks from us having a conversation at Starbucks, I was there. And we had sold everything and moved to California with each having a dry bag. That's all we had, like little 60-liter dry bags. They were backpacks. Moved into a studio furnished apartment, and although she and I broke up, she's still there, working for doing web design for some really big companies. And it was 4 years in, 4 companies later, 1 book later, that I got a call from a recruiter at TomTom, and they said, hey, we want to hire you for this role. So I came out to New Hampshire. Well, they told me I was coming to Boston. And then I flew into Boston and took a bus, and like an hour and a half into the bus ride, I'm like, I don't think I'm in Boston anymore. And I was in New Hampshire. Interviewed, got the job. I really wanted that job. Digressing from the career part for a bit, growing up on basically a dairy farm, we were always farmers growing up. Going from that to the big city, it really wore on me. The lack of space, the lack of trees. I mean, my studio apartment was like smaller than this room, and you'd go downstairs and you'd go out and there'd just be like human feces on the sidewalk, and there'd be no parking, and there'd be people everywhere, and you walk, you pass 10,000 people on your way to work, and you can't really afford to get away unless you're making serious cash. So I just, it was a really rough time. Even and when you don't focus on yourself and you focus on just working, it really I'm so happy that I learned at age 22 that you can't work yourself to death. So I was there for a few years. At age 25, I moved here to New Hampshire. Again, 25. I mean, it feels like I felt like I was an adult because of what I went through in San Francisco. San Francisco felt like it went by in a month, and all the stuff I did there, it all blends together now, and that's kind of time against me. But it was, I would get up at 7 a.m. I'd roll out of bed. Well, I'd grab my laptop, put it on my lap because I had no place to work in my studio. Get all my emails done, bicycle into the office, work there until 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon with various meetings thrown in throughout the day. And then at night, you go to a tech party, open bar, all you can drink, all you can eat, and then get home at midnight and do it again. And sometimes I would go back to the office at midnight and stay there until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning working, only to get a couple hours of sleep and then, pass out on the beanbag chair at the office. It was such a blur. So many smart people, and so many people that I know now that are now multimillionaires, but I don't think I could have survived long enough to make it past that point. So good experience, but I feel like it would have killed me if I had stayed there. So in New Hampshire, all this time I've kept blogging, kept photographing things. I've always had a video channel since 2005. So my YouTube channel goes, I think I started putting videos up in 2006 or 2007. And in New Hampshire, I basically felt, and I tell my boss this, when I first moved to New Hampshire, it felt like retirement. I would go in the office at 8 a.m. and I would leave at 4:30. I would go home and I would look around and have no idea what to do. So I started developing hobbies. And so I was, leaving work early. Not early, but early compared to what I had in San Francisco. Just a huge difference for me in the amount of time I had to actually work in order to pay the bills. Which, for a couple of years, I really took it easy. Doing things that I really enjoyed a lot more than just work. Since I was a kid, work was always my only hobby. So, throughout 2010, 2011 to 2013, I didn't really do much. I got a little bit into craft beer, but I kept it pretty simple. And then, obviously keeping the blogging, photography, that kind of stuff going. I've worked my butt off at TomTom, and I've kept getting, incremental raises, 1 or 2% per year. In the last couple of years, it's gotten a little bit more, which is nice. It's really good to have those kind of, recognition, raises, small bonuses, like that's pretty cool. And they're a really progressive company. I have to always be careful when I'm talking about them because they're my current employer, and I actually really love working there. It's an awesome job. And and so, working at TomTom, I was hired to be a community skunk works engineer builder sort of thing, where we would build the future. And then over time, I kept getting put into different areas until I wasn't doing that at all. I was just another project manager. But luckily, I met a couple of bosses, last 2 bosses, that recognized that I was not a project manager. Or I can be, but I don't like being a project manager, in a traditional sense, doing PMP kind of stuff. So they've allowed me to get back to that, where now I'm hiring people that build things. And so for the past 2 years, we've been building stuff. And it's probably, it feels like I'm working in a startup, but I'm not always worried about where the next funding round is going to come. So that's been, really freeing for me. It's just basically being engineering lead within TomTom. So it's been fantastic. I have the Twitter thing, which I think I'm finally going to close down in 2019, just because I'm too busy now to do it. But basically, the pitch was, when I was in San Francisco, I had friends that they had widgets that had people using them. These are software widgets. But those people using them had feedback, ideas, bug requests, etc. But when you're making a widget and you're venture capital backed or angel backed, you don't have any money to really have a customer support person, and your customers aren't giving you any money. So it's really it's a loss. So I pitched them on the idea of, hey, this is my pitch, for $400 a month, I will manage your Twitter account. Now, I'm not going to tweet for you. I'm not one of those people that's going to make memes and stupid shit like that. But if someone has a complaint or an idea, if they proactively reach out to you, the company, I'll reply on your behalf within half an hour, log down any things that they have questions about, help them the best I can, and then makes your customers feel better. That grew, that snowballed, and one of the companies I was working with, venture capital backed, named Skyfire, was one of our customers. They were paying us about $800 a month. Myself and my friend in Florida was helping me on East Coast time. And then that guy got hired, that company got purchased by Nokia. And that guy left Nokia after 12 months and went to the NFL. And then for 2 years, I was managing NFL Twitter accounts. And obviously while I'm doing TomTom work. But, this is obviously after hours. The game days were the big days. During the day, nothing really happened. That was a wild time. I think we were charging less than they really should be charged. I think Colin and I together were charging them $7,500 a month to manage these Twitter accounts. And of course, we had to pay taxes on that. We had to pay ourselves, that kind of thing. But the management software we used was $500 a month. I mean, it wasn't a huge profitable thing when you consider the scale of it. I think in a year, Colin and I each sent forward 40,000 tweets or something. All reactive tweets. Again, we're not one of those people that's building memes. We're just reacting to customer support requests for the NFL digital stuff. So that was pretty cool. But I kept that going for a few years. After NFL, I held on to a few other clients. It was still just word of mouth. And then, and now I don't really do it as much anymore. I'm not really marketing myself at it. So that was kept me busy. And then last year, I started doing property management for the person that sold me this house. So I rented from her. Then when I went to buy a house, she was my buyer's agent for this house. And then I asked her if she had some extra work for me. And she said, yeah, I'll do property management up here. How'd you like to help out? So I've been doing that for a year. And that's going really good. It's extra income. It's just project management applied to people's living spaces. It's very, very easy stuff. Don't want to downplay it. I mean, it keeps me busy 3 hours a day on the evenings and weekends, but it's not my full-time job. And then continue blogging. I also, now this YouTube channel makes, this month only made $200, but $200 plus $150 in Amazon payments. So it's, $350 to $500 a month on YouTube. Still do some photography stuff for friends. I don't charge a lot of money for that. And I've done some consulting, some speaking, local speaking gigs. I do a lot of speaking on behalf of TomTom now at various colleges and stuff, outreach for my internship program. So I'm still kind of staying in that world. Next steps. What do I want to be doing in 5 years? I want to still be at TomTom. I'd be happy if my salary didn't change. I'm very comfortable. And in 10 years, I would like to probably do consulting work for TomTom, and hopefully property management or real estate is my primary job. That may be a 20-year goal, but maybe 10 years is more fair. I've done the math. I would need to manage a few hundred properties. Well, no, 50 properties to really feel like I'm getting my money's worth as far as a total career change, given how much time it takes. But I never want to get out of technology. That's the thing. Like, you can apply technology to anything, even real estate. So I've been really lucky to have gotten into computers at a young age, and keep that going as long as I have. In 2013, I pretty much left social media, and 2012 I left social media, and I just haven't really looked back. I just, when you're in the Bay Area in the startup world, and you're really like you're an early adopter for every single social service that pops up, you eventually just get burnout, and you realize that it's not worth it. So there's something to be said about, like, I miss out on a lot of things. I miss out on pop culture and news and current events and jokes and references, but I just don't, the amount of time I save. So, people watching this channel are probably in their 40s and 50s, so you don't need any advice. But a lot of people ask me, like, what should I be doing right now to get there? And I'm not really like one of the motivational speakers. I think you need to be smart. You actually need to be a little intelligent. I've come to realize later in life, and I'm probably slightly autistic. I've never been diagnosed, but I think I am. Very methodical, very good memory, very organized, good at follow-up, just very easy, good at managing my schedule and my day, and maintaining relationships with people, and communication, and those kind of things are really, really important. And the other half of it is luck and who you know and who you meet. I mean, you need to put yourself into environments where you're going to meet smart people that can hire you and give you money and involve you in their ideas. But at the end of the day, you have to capture those ideas and make them profitable. So, looking at my sisters, for example, I'm probably going off a tangent now. Looking at my sisters, they told my mom, "Oh, Adam's rich. He doesn't do anything. He just does computer stuff and drinks beer." And they think I have lucked out or something. Looking at me now, it's easy to say, "Wow, this guy doesn't do shit. He's lazy. Everything's just handed to him." But my sisters are 18 and 21. They should have, 10 years ago, started getting into what they want to get into now. They're not too late, but if they want to be where I am at 32, they should have done this 10 years ago. So if they're into whatever they're into, all kinds of stuff, but find your passion and expect not to make any money off of it for the first 5 years. I mean, computers, I have a habit of monetizing everything that I get into, but it's not like you can't just walk in. And I guess you can go to college and just walk in, but I didn't go to college for any of this. So people should find out what they're passionate about and do it. do it as a hobby, make it monetizable. Don't have kids until you're in your 30s. Don't accrue a lot of debt until you're in your 30s. And I say a lot of debt, I mean like, buying a house, buying a car. I'm on this really like path now where I'm reinvesting all of my money into paying debt off. So my car and my bike will be paid off in about a year. And then the house will be on this like super crazy like 10-year payoff plan, because that's important to me. I want to be in my 40s and not have any debt. And I think that if I want to get into real estate as an investment, again, this goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. Find what you need to drive, to monetize what you give a shit about, and then do that. So if I think that I'm going to need $200,000-300,000 in capital to get into property management and real estate investment without owing all of my life to a bank, I need to myself be debt-free first. So I've been working on that really diligently, and I've never carried a lot of debt, but like in my late 20s, I bought a car, I bought a house, and I bought 2 bikes. So you're looking at, 18 grand financed. The Beta was like 3 or 4 grand financed. My car was 32 grand financed 3 years ago. The house is 155 grand financed. So you look at that on paper and you think, wow, I've got to work for like 4 years or 5 years to get all this stuff paid off, and like eat ramen. But I could do that. I'm not going to, but I could in 5 years, through working my ass off, back to like kind of what is in the Bay Area, and then be like almost 40 and have no debt. And that's a little extreme. I think more like 45. But that's important, right? And that kind of requires not having kids either. So, as far as, this is kind of my video, I guess, of my background and what I do today. But, so I'm in New Hampshire. Will I be here forever? I don't know. I'm kind of looking at possibly trying to move to TomTom in Belgium or Poland or Amsterdam. So that might be something I do in the next 5 years. Get some European riding in for 5 years and then come back here. Hopefully this place will be a rental by then. But yeah, life is good. I'm really thrilled with everything, and I think that I can't complain. So, long video, super long video. I'm so sorry about that, but people that actually wanted to watch this are probably still watching it. People that don't are not. And I kind of wish like my I feel like in my childhood, us being pretty poor, and I don't want to defend my parents, but like we didn't have a lot of money. I think my mom, my dad combined were making like 50 or 60 a year. Well, maybe less than that. I don't know. Adjusted for inflation or something, maybe it's more like 75 household income, but we had 3 kids. So it's not poor, but we weren't, we were lower middle class is the way I define it. We ate a lot of ramen. We didn't go out to eat. Our vacations were just going across the street to the beach, and I would surf. We drove old cars, that kind of thing. I mean, we weren't very wealthy, and through that, I kind of I didn't focus on school, so I didn't learn much from that. But I guess I realized early on school wasn't really going to be for me. I decided to focus on my talents on experience and a trade, and you can definitely do that. So anyway, I guess I should wrap this up. I like talking to the camera, especially on the day when I can't do much to the bike, just sitting there, gathering dust. She is beautiful though. I cannot wait to ride this thing in a couple of months. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful bike. All right, I'm actually going to go show a couple of properties. It's Saturday, but I'm still working. Going to show some properties and hopefully get those rented. The way property management works is, for a lot of cases, is for every 12-month lease you sign, the management company gets the first month rent, and on the back end it gets 10% per month on the top of the rent for management fees. So if it's $1,000 rental, we get $1,000 plus we're getting $1,200 a year on the back end, right? Yeah, on the back end of that. So $2,200 a year per house or unit. This is a 6-unit multifamily we're renting right now. We're trying to rent out. It's completely remodeled. So you're looking at $7 or $8 grand this year in income. In standard arrangements, the brokerage gets 50%, and you get the other 50% if you're a top earner. You can negotiate for better rates, but so it's split 50-50. And every expense, mileage, my cell phone, my time, all that stuff is, incorporated into that thing. So managing a 6-unit apartment building nets me about $3,500 a year, minus 30% roughly for tax, and then deductibles basically. So that gives you a rough idea of kind of what property management makes. So you need a lot of those, and you need to hope that your tenants are low stress tenants. Meaning nothing breaks, everything's good. There's no noise issues. There's no marijuana smoke emanating to other units, that kind of stuff. So it's if you have a really shitty tenant, it can eat up your whole profit for the year for that unit, because you're constantly going out there, you're constantly calling repair people. The real money is becoming a broker and having multiple PMs under you, but that's any business, right? It's the economies of scale. All right, so I'm gonna go show the apartments. It was nice chatting with you guys. I'll do a few more of these, and thanks for watching. Have a good winter. Hopefully you're not I'm freezing. It's freaking cold. Stay warm, everyone. Bye.